Hey, Don fans, I am here with Lizzie Bird, alumnus and volunteer assistant for USF track and field and cross country. Lizzie, you just had the most amazing week of racing in Paris. But before we get to that, let's just take it back when I talked to you in the last Dons from Distance. You had just come off of the World Championships with your best race in the 3K. What was your mindset? What were you doing in the past, 4 months to get yourself ready for when you would race again?
I think when we spoke, the Olympics had been cancelled. So I was going through that kind of processing, hoping some races would happen. The Europeans were still in the calendar. So that I kind of shifted my focus to Europeans. And then a few weeks later, the Europeans were cancelled, as I think we all expected, really. And at that point, I kind of shifted my focus to 2021 and really got back into a lot of base training, building miles. I don't do a ton of mileage, but getting my longer runs longer and doing kind of fartleks, off-road as opposed to like fast track workouts, and just really preparing to be prepared for whatever opportunities might come up this season. I actually ended up leaving San Francisco. My visa ran out, so I had to leave San Francisco in April, I think. Went to my parents, and that was just before the quarantine was in place for US visitors coming to the UK. So I timed that quite well. But I went to my parents, who just moved to Scotland, stayed with them for about 2 months. And then just about a few weeks ago, I moved down to Leeds, where there's a good training group and access to a track, which I hadn't had at all in Scotland, and a bit of more flat running, which I also didn't have at all in Scotland. It was all like up forest mountain tracks. And so, yeah. And then I guess this past week, after 6 months of not racing, suddenly I had 3 races on my calendar. Everything came at once. So started off with a road 5K last Saturday, which is very outside of my comfort zone. But I ended up with a PB in that. And then a 1500 on Tuesday, I got a PB there. And then on Thursday, I think I traveled to Paris to race this 2000 meter steeple on Saturday. And it was my first race, so it was a PB at that distance, and also a British record. So it was a good week.
So kind of take me back to the beginning of when you find out that, hey, we're going to have these races. It's going to be in Paris. I mean, kind of take me through that. What was going through in your mind?
I was a little nervous, to be honest, because I'd only had about 2.5 weeks of track workouts. I'd done one workout over hurdles. I hadn't done any over actual barriers, and I hadn't done any water jumps until the race. Actually, I did one barrier the day before the race. But yeah, I was just really excited to have the opportunity. I think that race organizers have been working behind the scenes really hard to try and put things on in creative ways, so that we can race and still be safe. And so, for instance, the 1500 I raced on Tuesday, there were just 5 of us in the race, because that was the number that was determined to be less risky. And that was fine. Like, it doesn't matter how many people, as long as you have a handful of other people to race with.
What is it like to have Coach Patrick McCurry virtually coaching you? I know he's got a baby on the way, just tell me a little bit about Patrick.
Well, luckily, he coached me last summer, mostly remotely, because I came back to the UK for about 3 months during the summer, and then I raced abroad at the World Champs, and he wasn't there for any of that because he was busy with the USF cross country season. So yeah, I would say we're pretty used to him coaching me remotely. He'll just send me training once a week, and we'll check in on the phone every now and then. So I think we were pretty prepared for pandemic training.
Well, how awesome was that, just to get the feedback? What were some of the things that you talked about? Obviously, you were getting all these PBs. You won your first race in what you said was like 2.5 years.
Yeah, so he was able to watch the two of the 3 races on live streams of kind of varying quality, but he was able to see it to some extent. And I think he was really happy. He knew my fitness was in a good place from the training that I've been doing. But I think it was, especially for the 2000 meter steeple, on Saturday, we kind of talked about like having the confidence to really take on the pace. My usual approach to races is just to sit on someone and then try and kick at the end. But the plan for this one was just to take the pace and push it out hard from about halfway. And I did that, and it was fun. I kind of liked leading. I haven't done that in a very long time. But yeah, it was fun. I think especially with there being not too much pressure this year, there's time to try new things, try out new race strategies, new race distances. So yeah, bit of fun.
It's interesting. So going from the 2K steeple to the 3K,
Mm-hmm.
what is the difference between that last K for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see when I race a 3K steeple next. I think the race I did on Saturday, we actually went out. The first K was relatively slow. It was a 3:08, and then I sped up the second K to a 3:02, and that 3:08 felt really comfortable. So I think that if I could just keep that going, like 3:08, and then maybe a 3:02, that could be possible, and that would be a big PB in the 3K steeplechase. But it's really hard to say until you do it. And I'm definitely more of I'm better at the shorter distances than longer. So maybe 2K steeple is just my event, but we'll see. I'll be able to race at the moment. The British Championships are still on. They're happening on the 5th of September. So I'll get a chance to see where I am in the more real distance then.
So honestly, with that 2K steeple, there were a lot of personal bests. And, one of your co-runners, Amy Pratt from Great Britain, she had a really strong race. But then the runner from Spain, I mean, you two looked so excited after that race was done. Just tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we kind of planned the race together, the three of us. The organizer had reached out to me and asked me if I was interested. And I said, yeah, I'd be interested. Other quick steeplechasers are also interested. So we all kind of chatted and we were like, yeah, why don't we do it? And Emma Udu from France said she would take on the pace for us. So she paced the first K. And we'd all chatted before about how we wanted to break our national records. And so it was sort of like a bit of teamwork. Like we were all in it together. And Amy was a little off the pace, but not too far off. And Erin and I worked together from 1K to 2K, really. She sat right on me, so I knew she was pushing me from behind. And yeah, we both smashed our national records, so that was fun.
That's awesome. And when you have a killer week, I know that it's just got to feel so good for you, just because you're in that perfect spot for the Olympics in a year. I mean, I know it's, a lot can happen in a year, but what kind of feedback did you get from friends, family, USF alum?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very good on social media usually, and I don't have many followers, but my phone has never blown up as much as it did yesterday. So that was kind of fun. A lot of people being really supportive and saying well done, which was cool. I didn't really expect that. I think because it's not an Olympic distance, so I thought it's not going to be a huge deal that I break the record, but people I think were still pretty excited, especially because there isn't a huge amount going on right now. So I think everyone's taking note of all the things that do happen. And yeah, I think it gives me a lot of confidence moving forward. And honestly, I think it makes me think a bit more that maybe the Olympics being postponed was a good thing, because I've got a lot faster this year, and if I make the same improvements again next year, I can really try and be competitive in that final. Hopefully, if I make the Olympics and then make the final.
Well, how do we take this momentum into what you said was the British Championships?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so British Champs are in 3 weeks' time. So I have one race between now and then. So kind of slowing down on the races after a busy week. I've had a couple recovery days, and we'll get into workouts again on Wednesday, and just try and maintain that fitness, really stay on top of recovery, and make sure that I don't lose any of my. I shouldn't lose any fitness, and just make sure I don't get injured at this point, really, and just kind of keep enjoying it, keep taking the opportunities that come, and get excited to race when I can.
Yeah, well, Lizzie, I can say for all of USF athletics and everyone else who loves you, we're just so proud of you, and I wish you the best of luck coming up,
Thanks,
and
Katie.
I hope you get another PB.